Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 kill team video. Today I'm going over the winter 2022/2023 kill team tier list. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment, as well as, just let me know what you thought of this tier list. Do you agree, disagree, all of that kind of jazz? Remember, we've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today I'm going over the winter kill team tier list. We've got the new balanced Dataslate and the FAQs. So I'm giving my feeling and all of that. We've actually had quite a big shake-up. Before we go further, I'll just explain the tiers. So the tiers aren't concrete. They're very subjective as always. But I'm basing my opinion on the tiers as a general player and like how you would see events. Obviously, if you are a more competitive player, someone who's playing a faction like forever, the tier lists aren't too solid. But they're basically more look at what you're likely to find in a tournament and what's likely going to win you a tournament. So like S tier, basically very likely to win an event, very strong kill team with very little bad matchups. A tier can win events, very likely to top, like get a top 3, top 8 cut. Not as good as the S tier, still a very good kill team, but still with some bad matchups, more bad matchups than the S tier. Then you got the B tier, who are very likely to go 3-1, so win 3 games, lose 1 game at an event, a solid kill team, but not as strong as the upper tiers with more bad matchups. Then a C tier, basically likely to go 2-2, 2 wins, 2 losses. They're okay, they're like fairly evenly balanced. Then you've got D tier, very likely to go 1 win, 3 losses with this kill team. Very hard to play, almost not that good. And then you've got the E tier, which is just horrible. Basically, you're very likely to lose all your games. You might win one if you're lucky, right? That's how you should look. And basically, what you should plan against, like you should always factor in planning to beat the S, A, and B tiers. But you can focus just on the S and A tiers and go, how can I beat those? And just go with the B tiers. I'll wing it. That kind of thing. Like that's why I think this information is useful for. But also with this tier list, we've had a lot of changes and it is quite early going into it, so I wouldn't be surprised if some stuff I get wrong. Like I think the only thing I got wrong with the last tier list was saying Galloppox were on open boards were B tier when I said they were probably A, but they actually turned out to be S tier. So I think that's it. And then obviously I'll have an Into the Dark tier list as well, but I'm focusing on open board. I don't really do mixed tier lists. I think if you do mixed events, that's your own pitfall. Like it's too much of a mess to do mixed tier lists. So I'll just be going into my tier list. So let's get into it. So we'll start off with the E tier. So, we have Compendium Tau, Compendium Kroot, and Compendium Necrons. They're just horrible, right? Like they've all got much better bespoke teams. In the case of Necrons, slightly better. And the reason I put Necrons down is just they're slow, can't do much. Kroot, just play Farstalker Kinband, and like Tau, just play Pathfinders. For the D tier, so we have Chaos Demons again. I know people get very triggered by me saying Chaos Demons are D tier on open boards, but they are. Compendium teams, like you can take 12 Chaos Demons, but you sacrifice too much for that. They're just showing their age, right? They need a bespoke team. Then you've got Compendium Marines. They're just bad. There are much better bespoke versions. And then we've got Compendium Gene Stealers. Once again, the bespoke version is much better. And we got Compendium Orcs. Maybe C tier, but I think now they're just D, right? The game is shifting where the Compendium teams are basically going out of the game. So now we have the C tier. Custodies, people go like, why are you putting Custodies in C tier, John? I still think they have game. Generally as 2 Custodies and 5 Sisters of Silence. They're not amazing, but they're okay. Same with Sisters of Battle. They're just an all-round okay kill team. And the same with Compendium Chaos Space Marines. You can do interesting things with 3 Chaos Space Marines and 8 Cultists, but generally the bespoke versions are better. And then you've got Compendium Grey Knights. They're still very strong, but it depends on the board. A more open board they do much better on, but they're still okay. And Deathwatch, they're good. Like with Grey Knights and Deathwatch desperately need a bespoke update because it would make them way, way better. Like the only thing they're really missing is just some more rules and faction tac ops. And then you got Space Marine Scouts. 10 Scouts are always solid. They're always going to be C tier for me. Compendium Eldar, like Eldari, they're really solid because remember they still get the +1 operatives. They're just a solid kill team. and Drukhari have gone down a bit for me into C tier, just because they are doing well when they play, but they're basically non-existent, and they're a pseudo bespoke team, but they're still missing some stuff. Like the main thing they live on is going 10 Cabalites, 2 blasters, and a splinter cannon. It would be nice to see a bespoke version for that. Now we go on to the bespoke team. So Phobos, still C tier for me. Like, they did get helped a lot in the balanced data slate, but not enough to fix their problems. I think for me, for them to get into the B tier, they would need the -1 mission actions, and like their main problem is their 2-3 damage. Their 3-4 damage, right? Which is good on paper, but there's so much -1 damage in the game knocking them down to 2-3, they still struggle to play. I think one interesting thing I would like to see as a balanced data slate rule is weapons can't be reduced in damage more than 3-4. So if you have a 3-4 weapon, you can't go below that. So 2-3 guns are stuck at 2-3. And I think that would boost them up, because the main problem, like, you run into like Nurgle, you are just doing 2-3. You're doing 2-4, sorry, and then against Intercession you're doing 3-3. You just don't do enough damage, and they are very popular kill teams that you'll see a lot. And like, don't even get me started on Galapox. Then we got Hierotech Circle. So Hierotech Circle and Phobos should have been in the D tier, right? I was too kind to them in the last balanced data slate, and I'm being kind to them now. Hierotech got helped a lot, but it's basically the Cryptex. As I said in my review of the balanced data slate, the biggest problem is, yeah, Cryptex are amazing, but they were already carrying the team, and they're carrying the team even more now. You still have very poor fighters, because you have, basically, you take 5 Immortals or 4 Immortals and a Death Mark, don't take the Apprentech, and you've got 2 Plasma Slights running around. So you effectively have 6 operatives affecting the game, with 2 trying to do their best to help. They still need a lot of help. They are playable, so they are definitely C tier, but they need a lot of work, really a lot of work. And we got Kazakin. They're just C tier, right? They love elite teams, and I think if elite teams drop in popularity, they will drop in win rate, because they can only deal with elite teams. They need help, but we'll see how the meta evolves. Then we've got the B tier. Death Guard, like, they are a very swingy kill team, just because of their 5-up DPR, but still solid. Same with Tyranids, they are very solid, like 10 Gene Stealers or 5 Gene Stealers and 3 Warriors, or 3 Warriors and 8 Swarm, or 5 Gene Stealers and 8 Swarm. Very good kill team. They just need a bespoke update to get, like, you know, faction tac ops and some more rules. Compendium Guard are much better than Kazakin, and I should have said with Kazakin, if you want to play Kazakin, just play Scions, but Compendium Guard, still very strong for what they do, and hilariously outplay Veteran Guardsmen. I mean, not Veteran Guardsmen, Kazakin. For the bespoke teams, I'd still say Commandos are B tier. They are not a horrible team, but they are still B. Like, they do need some tweaks, but they're a very solid kill team overall. They haven't lost much power or relevance. Then we've got the Veteran Guardsmen. So some people would say they're A tier now, and I think they could be, but I think the competition in A is still too much for them. And like, they're not a bad kill team, but like, they might do better now. Every mission has 6 objectives, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go up to A tier, but I don't think they're S tier at the moment. I think they're just really solid and they're fine. Then you got Novitiates. I think they're definitely B tier now. Like, they have too many bad matchups, namely Hunter Clade and even Galapox are a struggle for them. Like, Intercession messes them up. They haven't really gotten worse. It's just they've got tougher opponents. They can still manipulate dice as much as they want. You know, they can't change a reroll, which has balanced them out a lot, but they're still a solid kill team. Remember, they can still take security. Then you've got Warp Coven. So Warp Coven are a lot better, but I feel on open boards, they still struggle. Like, the weird thing is, I think they're better on Into the Dark, but open boards, they need a lot of help. Just because of the matchups, and it's more easier to hurt their pieces, which is, I still think they're in a good spot. They could be A, but that would be down more to the player. If there's a really experienced player using them, they're a lot better. Otherwise, in general, I'd say B tier. There's just so much to remember. Then we've got the Void Scarred Corsairs. They're B tier. Like, they are oddly really well balanced. I want them to be buff, but I think any buff breaks them. They definitely struggle against some of the A tiers and the S tiers, but they're a really good kill team. And if you look at the individual stats in matchups, they have like a 70% win rate against Intercession and like near 55 against Legionary. They're really good at murdering elites. They will struggle with how Recon has basically been nerfed for them, but they gain so much now from Seek and Destroy. You basically play as an Alpha Strike kill team. So I think they may go to A, depending on how Seek and Destroy evolves, just because they're hyper aggressive. So now we go into the A tier. Hunterclade are still A tier, right? I was going to put them in B, but then you have multiple ways to build the kill team. So now you can either go 5 warriors and then 5 assassins. That's 10. You can go 7. You can go 7 guys with 4 assassins, or you can go 3 assassins and 8 guys and take 3 gunners. So you actually have they've become more complicated to play in terms of what you actually field as a kill team. So when you're playing into them, you have to remember they basically have 3 different ways they could construct their kill team, but they still get all the benefits and buffs. Losing the extra model while having 5 assassins hurts them, but it helps everyone else. They're still a very good kill team, and I could see people arguing why they're B tier, but for me they're still solid A, because you can still run 5 assassins into elite teams and go like, well, I've still got 5 guys, right? The biggest thing is now they can't, like when they go 5 assassins and 5 guys, they don't get 3 gunners. Like that's a huge change for them, but they're still good overall, especially with the Seek and Destroy changes. And if they want, they can tech into like 7 guys and go 11 models and play Recon really well. So that's good. Wormblade, definitely A tier. Like they love the change to infiltration. A very good kill team now. The only problem is their bad matchups. Like once again, the main problem with this kill team, if you kill the cult agents early and the 2 heavy gunners, the kill team fall apart. But if you can't, they're very solid. The change to missions and the scouting changes is very good for them, very beneficial overall. And I think they're very solid. It's just they struggle with some of the A tier and a lot of the S tier. So still really good. But they're like the moment you make one mistake, it's game over. So as long as you can minimize how many mistakes you make, they're a great kill team. Then we got Legionary, still really good. Like I was contemplating putting them in the S tier, but I think they just can't compete in the S tier. Still a very, very good kill team. Love playing into Intercession. So much flexibility, very strong. It's weird how people have kind of stopped acknowledging them in general. Like everyone's just like, oh, it's Intercession, but Legionary are really, really good. Especially with now they can take like the buffs to Seek and Destroy and changes to security. Very, very good kill team. Like even the Corn Butcher, even if you go full Nurgle, really helps with a lot of matchups people struggle with. Like the Corn Butcher will cleave through like several operatives and mess up larger teams, but they can also mess up elite teams as well. Very good. Blooded, definitely A tier for me. The new Seek and Destroy changes help them a lot. They're a very good kill team now. They love the change for 6 objectives on every mission. Very, very good. They still have some weaknesses, right? Like they're not easy to play or like gonna win you a lot of like auto win you most games. But if your opponent misplays and doesn't know who to kill correctly first, you have a very strong chance to win. Void Dance Troop, still A tier for me. Now I can see people go, oh, you know, they can't select the right they can only select one faction, TAC Op. They've got some nerf with Domino Field, and I'm like, they still can select Seek and Destroy. They can still play every archetype really well. They just don't get security. They now don't have to waste so much on mission actions. And the other thing is, with everyone getting extra CP, if you were only ever using Domino Field for 2 turning points, which generally that's what you should have, there's no real change. So they're fine. Like, very, very good. Still slept on. Oddly, people still underestimate them. Like now they know how to handle the Intercession matchup where you take upgraded kisses. Still a very solid kill team. Then we've got Elucidian Starstriders. So I think this kill team skirts the line now of A and S tier. I think they've been overbuffed. I really don't think they needed to support assets hitting on freeze. If they had all the other changes, still be A tier for me. But the support assets hitting on freeze and they get benefit from advantage is probably too good, and I wouldn't be surprised if they become S tier. Like for now, I'm being cautious and saying they're A tier, but can you imagine you get an armsman onto the Vantage, they don't kill him in a turn, so then you fire your orbital bombardment, like the blast blue thing, is now 5 dice hitting on freeze. You are going to hit so many things and mess them up. Even elite teams now, you've just got like, oh, here's my launch strike. It's now like 5, like 6, 7 hitting on freeze. Like crazy. I think that was an overreaction. Really worried about that. But overall, really good kill team, like good tack up selections, very nice mix of archetypes and solid operatives. But yeah, very, very strong. You now, like, I was glad I researched the matchup a lot. You have to know how these guys work. Then Intercession, no longer S tier. I would like to tweak them a little bit, just with the chapter tactics, but they're a very solid kill team. They're not a fan of everything going to 6 objectives for the missions, but you know, they love seek and destroy. They love security. They can play both archetypes really well. Still a really good kill team. They just don't like the S tier or Legionary. Those are the toughest matchups for them. And I would say Harlequin's Void Dancer Troop as well now messes them up more because the Void Dancer Troop players have learnt the matchup. But they're still an A kill team because what? They had like 300 games last month with a 50% win rate. And then they had like 280 games with a 50% win rate. They're just really good. And now we've got the Farstalker Kin Band. I know some people think they're S tier as well. But even when I was discussing with my other secret cabal of Farstalker players, like, I think we all agree they're definitely A tier. They have, like, there's no one denying they may have been overbuffed, but not to the point that breaks them. I don't think they got the same overreaction buff as Hunter Clade and Elucidian Starstriders did. I think with the Farstalker Kinban, we just got the pre-nerfed version of them. That's how they worked, and then they got nerfed in after that from playtesting. I think they're fine, honestly, because you have to remember, they don't really have anything that does more than 3-4 damage. They have the bow that can do 4-5 and their leader that can do 4-5 in melee. They actually don't have that much consistent burst damage. They're just very good at chipping things or overwhelming stuff. They love fighting elite teams as well as operatives with a lot of 7 wounds and 5 up saves, right? Who aren't that great in combat, which is a lot of the field. Like, they're oddly really good. Like, I think they're the best hard counter into Pathfinders now from the change of their rogue ability, but a very good kill team. Very, very good. They may go into S tier, but I think they're safe A. Really, like, I know people are like, oh, GW overbuffed them, but I think they buffed them right. Like, they should have been like this on launch. Very, very good kill team. I think they're solid A. Solid A. Now we go into the S tier, guys. The ones you've all been waiting for. Pathfinders, still S tier. Now I know there's been a lot of angry Pathfinder players going, the team is ruined. They can only take 12 operatives. 13 was what was balanced. Could still spam 5 marker lights. Remember, if you want to, you can swap in marker drone and take 6 high intensity marker lights. While it will hurt in some matchups, going down to 13, having 12 with marker light spam unchanged, amazing. I still think they're S tier. The recon changes helps them a lot. They now don't need to invest so much APL on doing tac ops. It does suck. They can't pick faction tac op 1 and faction tac op 3, but you're generally just going to pick faction tac op 1 now against elites, faction tac op 3 against anyone who has who has the same models as you. You still have 12 activations. Like, you still have a very solid kill team. You now just basically take 1 Shazlar instead of 2, but you can swap that around. A lot of flexibility. As I said, because high intensity marker lights weren't hit, still very, very strong. Galapox, also still S tier. Remember, they can take security and seek and destroy, both which they excel at a lot now. It is true mutants and glitchlings now have a 6 up feel no pain instead of 5, like 6 up DPR. The main one it hurts are the mutants, because the mutants were more annoying to kill because they always negated crit damage, making it count as normal damage. So they were really difficult. But now it's very easy for you to go, okay, I can't kill the Nightmare Hulks, so what I'm going to do is destroy the rest of your kill team, so you only have 4 operatives who can basically only deal with 1 operative a turn, effectively. You know, there's some exemptions, but that's pretty much it. And still, they have like 15 operatives, so many wounds. I know people were upset at the Techno Curse aura going down to my suggestions, but the thing is, the glitching aura is too big. And most of the time, to negate this kill team's conceal, you have to get within white, so 2 inches. So if someone's coming in within white, they're always going to be at -1 dice. So the only thing it changed was you oppressively pinning down the midfield with like 4 glitchlings hidden around going, are you within 6 inches? Can't see me? Well, you're still -1 dice. But overall, they're still an amazing kill team. Love the extra command points because they already get 3 command points. Very, very strong. I would still not ignore them. Like, while Pathfinders are swingy as the best shooting kill team in the game with the most offensive output from ranged, Gallophox are the most they're the most swinging kill teams in terms of the most wounds and melee threat, because once they're in your face, you're always going to be injured with rust emanations, and like if they can get into your face, it's crazy, really hard to beat. And then finally we have Imperial Navy breaches. Honestly, if you're not saying they're an S tier, I really question you as a player. Like, let me list, like, because the thing is, they should have been hit, right? They should have done 1 or 2 hits in the balanced data slate. So this is my problem with Imperial Navy breaches. Yes, you can take 10 guys and 2 skulls, right? But you can take 12 guys instead. Everyone has a 4-up save. You have rerolls versus blast, and you ignore splash unless you're the original guy, the original target. You get effectively a free stratagem every turn as long as your leader alive, which gives super rerolls, because remember, their attack order doesn't just let you reroll 1 dice, it lets you reroll 1 dice of the same number, which is the thing I hate. Right, I hate this reroll effect. Like, it was fine on the Wormblade, but they've given it to teams that didn't need it. Everyone takes stims, so the minimum wound of this kill team is 8. Remember, gunners have 8 wounds automatically, so they go to 9, and your endurance goes from 10 to 11. Like, the problem is you have a 12 operative kill team. Everyone basically has 8 wounds, a 4-up save. Then you've got brace, so as long as you haven't moved or shot, like, as long as you haven't moved or fought in combat or charged, you are -1 damage. So you can dash and shoot and still be at -1 damage. So everyone's at 8 wounds with a 4-up save and -1 damage with no cap. So you like make 2 free damages, like 1, 2. It's ridiculous. And then they have auto hits if they're close enough, and then they can blitz. And now if they blitz someone and it's their grenadier, that grenadier, let's say, hits 4 to 3 people, can retain a crit for each one. They are so good at deleting stuff. They have so many rerolls. They have so many defensive buffs. They have security and seek and destroy. They have good tac ops. It's mad. This kill team is bonkers. Whereas Gallophox dominate close range and combat with too much wounds for you to deal with, and Pathfinders dominate at range, this kill team kind of dominates the mid range, which is like, I just need to be within blue to red of you, because if I'm within blue, I've got my auto hit stratagem, so like I can group activate to anyone. So you can do things like pop an attack order down. It's a 3-inch bubble from the center, so it's basically a 6-inch dome in diameter, which is huge. Affects so much, and it's for free. You can, like, it messes up elites teams because you go blitz and you go, okay, Melter will delete someone, but even if you don't blitz, you go like, I'll go 2 hits because on 4 dice I should get 2 hits and on 4s. Because I'm within blue, and I've got 2 hits, that changes to 3 hits, and then I'll reroll for free and either get 3 hits or 4 hits, but then I can blitz and do crazy stuff. They're way too good at what they can do. They can negate conceal orders. They have things some kill teams only have a part of, but for some reason they have everything. And they are a very good kill team. Very, very good. Like, I think their only bad matchups are the S tier, really. Like, they gatekeep. Each of these kill teams gatekeep so many factions. And the annoying thing is they all gatekeep different factions. Like, there's no real similarity. So, like, I guess the only crossover is Pathfinders and Breachers, who mess up elite teams. Mainly Breachers, because they can just use Breach and Clear and Blitz to just delete elite models. And it's a really punishing kill team, because normally the game encourages you to delete operatives that are ready, whereas this kill team forces you to delete operatives that have already activated and done their stuff. So you go, well, you've deleted like 2 to 3 of my operatives with 2 to 3 operatives. I will kill these guys, and then you'll just kill me in return, and then I still struggle to deal with you. Like, they're not unbeatable, right? But they have so many tools. The mobility tools of cutting through walls, like, definite S tier. Like, I would not be surprised if this kill team dominates the game for the next 3 months. And I really question why Games Workshop didn't at least hit Blitz. Like, the confusing thing was when I went to FAQ for Blitz, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm sure they're going to get hit in the balance Dataslate. Nothing on Blitz. Remember, we're going into a weird time. I still think there's only 3 S tier, but yeah. So for overall, this is the tier list. So if you jumped here, why? Why did you miss out on all my detailed explanations? You missed the secret combo that Tyranids can do into session. You'll never know now. You'll never know. Never know. But yeah, this is my kill team overall tier list. I still say the meta is very healthy. The S tier is still kind of too dominant. And then I think the bigger issues are Elucidity and Star Striders are probably S tier, but A tier for now. And Fast Stalker Kimban I think are solid A. I do very much worry about the effect of breaches on the game. Like, the main thing keeping breaches in check is people can't buy another box because they're not released separately at the moment. So yeah, I still think the game is very good, you know, and we're still very early into the new TAC Ops, the new missions. There's a lot of change. And I still think the game overall is really well balanced. Like, at that balanced data slate, that was great. Yeah, you know, we've got some kill teams that are way too strong at the moment, but it's not too bad. We've got a great A to B tier. Like, I think those kill teams in the A to B tier, very good. And if you notice, they're mostly bespoke. The bespoke teams in the C tier desperately need help, but we'll have to wait for time for that, okay? So now we've covered my general tier list for open play. Go into the Dark. This time I don't really invest too much time for Into the Dark, because the thing with Into the Dark is a very swingy game because of all the changes. The new missions and TAC Ops help a lot, but when you can't shoot at operators until they get into your face, changes things up very much. So let me bring up my Into the Dark tier list. So here it is. E tier is unchanged. D tier. I put Phobos in D tier, and people may go, why Phobos? So the reason Phobos are in D tier, you basically have to go full Reavers to stand a chance, maybe a Mine Layer, that kind of thing. They don't like Into the Dark. Their thing is pinning people and then playing around that. You can't really do that into the dark, and they struggle, especially on some of the newer maps. Then the C tier is unchanged. I was tempted to put Hyrotech in the B tier, and I was like, you know what? If like, they just can't. Like, at the moment, Kazakin are still C tier as well. They gain stuff and lose stuff. They're slightly better in Into the Dark. I'd probably put them borderline B for Into the Dark, but it's not a great thing. It's like they're still mostly C. Then for the B tier, I put Chaos Demons up here because I think they're much better on Into the Dark. I don't think they're A tier because the competition is too much. But on B tier, definitely very good, because now you don't care about not having to shoot. You can do like 6 Bloodletters and 6 Plague Bearers and just move up. Very good kill team on Into the Dark. And yeah, and I think Pathfinders down to B, like Commandos down from S to B because of the changes with the FAQ and balanced data slate. They can't super forward deploy, so they're just in B tier. Bomb Squig is hilarious. Technically gets lethal 5 up on its explosion. Like, the Bomb Squig is amazing on Into the Dark, but they're still B tier, I would say. Because remember, they're not really a melee team, they're a mixed team. So Into the Dark isn't amazing for them now. Pathfinder's B tier, just 12 operatives. They just play Into the Dark and hope they get a mission with like layouts 2 and 4 and go, finally, I'm just going to shoot you off. Yeah, Veteran Guardsmen B tier as well. Like, I know they are good. They are not bad and Into the Dark, but I think B tier is a solid place to be for Veteran Guardsmen. If they had more melee threat and like their melee operatives got buffed, I would definitely put them in A tier. At the moment, they kind of live off the spotter going, are you bunched around that barricade? Here's my grenade launcher guy with lethal 5 up and reroll 1s. And then the demo mine just going, blowing you up, blowing you up. Novitiates are still B tier for Into the Dark, while the Flamers are a lot better. The Flamers can't carry the team. They're not they're not rubbish, but they're still B tier for Into the Dark. And then I've put Corsairs in B tier. Like, if they had an extra operative, so they'd go to 10, they'd play a lot of their new missions much better. But I think B tier is still the same for Into the Dark. They're more... It's better for them to get into position for their alpha strikes, but now it's harder to do them because they can't ignore parts of the board and get long shots. For the A tier, no real change. I've put Warp Coven up in A tier because for Into the Dark, most of their psychic powers that are debuffs don't leave line of sight and affect everyone board wise. Like their dash debuff is huge on Into the Dark. They can actually safely play, move up, have rubrics as their main support, each shadowed by a sorcerer, and go like, oh, if you get near this rubric, my sorcerer is going to pop and charge you. Blooded still A tier, love Into the Dark. Void Dancer Troop still A tier, they're really good on Into the Dark. I think Elucidee and Star Triders are still A tier on Into the Dark, but I wouldn't be surprised if they drop down a bit. But their support assets are still crazy. Like, support assets in general should not be allowed on Into the Dark. It makes no sense. So that's kind of carrying them here. And then Farstalker Kinban, you can argue they're B tier for Into the Dark. Because remember, a lot of their power relies around long range shooting and seeing people and going, tagging them with your leader for the auto hits. So they do play Into the Dark a little bit worse, but the buffs they've gotten are overall very good. So they're still a very solid kill team, like much better on Into the Dark compared to last time. But I would say they're better on open board than Into the Dark, but they're both still the same tier. Then S tier, Galapox, like nothing's really changed for them. You still can't shoot them until they engage. Breaches are unchanged, no issues. Like they live around Into the Dark. They're better on Into the Dark, but it's still crazy. Legionary and Intercession. Legionary is definitely S tier for Into the Dark. Once again, it's harder to alpha them, and it's very good for them to get surprise charges and attacks. And the same for Intercession. But this time, instead of going like rapid and durable, you just go like methodical and durable, or methodical and rapid, just because you can go on guard with no penalties and you ignore an injury. Very good kill teams, like very solid for the S tier. While they don't like objectives, going like all missions going to 6 objectives for Into the Dark, overall it's still a good set for them, and they are very tough to deal with. These elite teams, because you can't shoot them until they engage, means they guarantee hitting you and then you struggling to deal with them after they've hit probably your pieces that can counter them. Very, very strong. But that's the tier list for Into the Dark. Hope you enjoyed it. So overall, once again, please remember this kill team stuff tier list is subjective. Like, obviously, like I keep saying it, but if you've been playing, I don't know, Warp Coven, and you go, they're more than B tier, I was like, great. Yeah, you've been playing them for months, maybe even a year at this point. Of course they're going to be better for you because you know them inside and out, you know all the matchups. The tier list is a general thing. Isn't rule of law. You know, I've kept things like, I didn't want to do SS tiers, like once again, because the way my friends have described it when they're doing like card games, it's like you S tier is tier 0 basically. Tier 0 is the best performing deck, right? And then if you go above S tier, it's like your tier -1. You know, not to knock other people who do it, but that's why I like to keep it S and E very clear, even though it's all entirely subjective. And I forgot to mention that this also includes the stats. So it's based off of my opinion, my experience with the game, and the stats, right? That's why I've kept like some key kill teams where they are, because I can see the global stats and I see how trends are going. And, you know, I've played a few games with the new setting. It definitely changes things, but I need more time. But at the moment, I think this is a solid basis. I feel I've been quite safe with a lot of things. Like I can definitely see people saying, oh, X team should be higher, X team should be lower. I think, once again, I wouldn't be surprised if Elucidee and Star Striders go to S tier. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Pathfinders, I think a lot of people are going to say A and B tier, because Pathfinders, while they're really strong, you have to be really good with them. And it's going to force slightly better play. So I wouldn't be surprised if they drop off a bit and people go, oh, they're not S tier anymore. But Pathfinders definitely are S tier. Galapox is still S tier. Breach is definitely S tier. Farstalker Kinban, don't think are S tier. Very solid A. Like, almost pushing into S tier, but I think they're fine. Remember, they don't have much burst damage. Kazakin, Phobos, and Hyrotech. I mean, if you argued they're in D tier, I'd probably let you have it. I mean, I would definitely say Hyrotech are definitely C tier. Kazakin are definitely C tier. None of them are B tier. But overall, we got a very healthy game. The compendium teams are just existing. I don't think we're going to get any more compendium teams removed, probably because of bad feedback in general. People don't like their kill teams being removed. And we haven't seen any with the latest balance Dataslate. And then Into the Dark, things are still kind of close. I would say that the weird thing is the tiers are quite close in general for open play. Maybe not so much with the S tier, but when you go into the Dark, I think there's a big gap between the S tier and the A tier for Into the Dark. Now, I mean, it's kind of prevailed, but you've got like this big gap between the S and A tier. Then there's still quite a big gap between the A and B tier compared to open boards. But that's just because of the nature of Into the Dark. But that's pretty much it. Remember, I've also going to have an article version of this down in the episode description below. So if you want like a high quality image instead of screen capping me, it'll be in the article, like episode description. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of this tier list. Do you agree, disagree? Would be really interested to hear and, you know, get your feedback. If you want, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. So I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Samaru, Sam, Robin, NinjaLee83, Kenzie, John Thomas, Captain Murder, Dave, Daniel, Average Joe 27, and Adzik. And then for my veterans of the crit, I have Samjo. So thank you so much. Your support really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But that's pretty much it for another tier list. I wonder how angry people will get now. No matter what happens with the tier list, I've learned people get super frustrated. Really, really angry. And I'm like, okay. It's oddly more the compendium players, really. You don't know how much now I just don't want to include compendium teams when I do the tier list, but I leave them in, right? So I appreciate that. Like, if you remove the compendium teams, everyone sits where they are. Like, oh, I mean, I'd probably have to knock Phobos and Hierotech down a bit. But overall, I think this is a healthy way of holistically looking at the meta. Right? I'm not right or wrong. It's my opinion. But it's here to help you if you want to go to tournaments and go like, what do I need to research for matchups? Well, that's it. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I should have stuff this week. We'll see. My schedule is very in flux at the moment because I need to record battle reports, which I should be doing this week. And then I still need to publish the Kill Team Open battle reports, the US Open. The problem is they're 4 hours each. So I'm trying to edit them down, but they're so long. But that's pretty much it. Remember, no matter what the tier lists say, you stay away from tier 15. And remember, there's always a chance to win, no matter what tier level you're on, as long as you can roll a crit.